ground just missed him. He's looking for the source.
Hey guys, Dave here with a look at Ghost Recon Wildlands. Today we're focusing on the upgrades the recent Xbox One X patch delivers. Now, PS4 Pro delivered a nice upgrade over base hardware in terms of a resolution boost. Okay, 1440p, so not native 4K or anything, but there was a sense that you were getting a step up as you moved from base Xbox One, PS4 and PS4 Pro, going between 900p, 1080p and then 1440p. And with Xbox One X we get another boost in resolution too, but that's not all. It's not just pixel counts, but everything from texture detail, tessellation, along with draw distance and level of detail transitions. There's a big improvement across the board here, but how much of a difference does it actually make? Well, let's find out what we're looking at. First up, all important image quality, and this is one area where Xbox One X has a considerable lead over PS4 Pro. On Pro we're looking at 1440p resolution that appears fairly crisp, but at the same time it's not high enough to get us close to imitating a native 4K resolution. It's better than base hardware, but at the same time if you want to get 1:1 pixel sharpness then you'll need to play the game on a 1080p screen. However, on Xbox One X, the resolution gets a boost up to 1800p, and it's a considerable upgrade. While it's not native 4K, I feel that from general viewing distances of a couple of feet away, then the differences are going to be less pronounced than you might think. The image on Xbox One X appears crisp and sharp with plenty of detail, and upscaling artifacts aren't really noticeable. There's a sense that the picture isn't as razor sharp as with the native 4K presentation, but it still looks great, and more importantly, it delivers a nice upgrade over playing the game on a 1080p screen, which is exactly what you'd want from an Xbox One X upgrade. Image quality is also improved via tweaks to the temporal anti-aliasing algorithm, which means that there's slightly less ghosting in motion on Xbox One X than on PS4 Pro. It's not something that overtly stands out, but again it just adds a little bit more refinement to the basic presentation on Microsoft's system. As you'd expect, the increased pixel count adds more clarity to the entire scene, whether that be texture details or distant scenery made up of smaller subpixel elements. But resolution is just one part of the extensive upgrades seen on Xbox One X. For example, the core assets are increased in quality here. High resolution textures are deployed across the terrain, adding a lot more detail, whether that be across the ground or across the various rock surfaces throughout the game. There's a sense that we're getting more high frequency information and better clarity as a result of this upgrade in artwork, and it makes a pretty big difference. This is particularly noticeable when looking at the ground details. Things such as puddles, tyre tracks and footprints all have better definition due to the new higher resolution ground decals. And it shows that Ubisoft are serious about taking advantage of the increase in pixel count by providing high quality assets that really shine when shown at higher resolutions. Texture filtering is also improved as well. The high level of anisotropic filtering here means that these details across the ground appear clearer at a distance. It's not a massive difference at first, but if you look closely you can see that Xbox One X definitely has a nice little advantage here when you combine all the different elements together. So far, the increase in resolution and high quality assets are probably the most distinctive improvements on Xbox One X, but Ubisoft does go a step further. Geometry detail also appears more complex across the game via increased use of tessellation. You can notice this across the entire scene, from the bumps in the ground being more pronounced, to the various rock surfaces appearing smoother and slightly better defined. When looking at the rocks, you'll also notice some tweaks to what looks like ambient occlusion there. It could be just that the shadows are placed at slightly different points due to dynamic time of day, but there's a sense that the surrounding details feature more depth and three-dimensionality on Xbox One X compared to PS4 Pro. All of this helps to create a richer appearance for this beautiful open world environment, and there's also slightly more consistency when exploring it as well. While draw distances are essentially identical with regards to the number of objects populating distant scenery, the actual level of detail transitions are actually drawn further out on Xbox One X. And to that extent there's also less pop-in terms of mid-scene details compared to PS4 Pro. There's no doubt that all of these upgrades combined provides a much better visual experience on Xbox One X, whether you're playing on a 4K screen or even on a 1080p display. Yet the game supports super sampling, so you still get better image quality and all these enhancements even with a Full HD screen. But on a 4K display, you really get a nice uptick in detail that looks quite striking over what PS4 Pro provides. When looking at console performance then, 30 FPS is the expected target, and looking back at the beta, this is something that both base PS4 and Xbox One really struggled to deliver. The PlayStation 4 perhaps wasn't too bad, there was some noticeable frame rate drops and stutters, but Xbox One, well, that really struggled, and a lot of the time we were looking at sub 30 FPS performance with plenty of screen tear, due to the use of the adaptive VSync kicking in more often on Microsoft's platform. The good news is whether you're playing on PS4 Pro or Xbox One X, with this final release, performance isn't a problem on either of these consoles. Yes, 30 frames per second is the target, but if it's held consistently, it just works, providing a smooth, stable experience. And that's basically what you're getting here. I did notice the occasional, very rare 1 FPS drop that cropped up on PS4 Pro, and I suspect that at some points this might also happen on Xbox One X. But playing the same scenes as I did in the beta, performance really just sailed through at a solid 30 frames per second on both PS4 Pro and the One X. I did notice some occasional judder from time to time, but frame rates at this point were still lock solid when moving through the footage on a frame by frame basis. What you're seeing here at these moments is basically the limitations of a low 30 FPS frame rate. Whenever there's lateral movement, panning shots, especially when driving, this creates additional judder which you don't see when running at say 60 frames per second on the PC. But ultimately it's not really a performance issue, just the limitations of this frame rate without a huge amount of motion blur in order to smooth things over. So it's a big improvement over the base consoles, and Xbox One X is doing a great job with its 1800p and enhanced settings over PS4 Pro. I think it's a really solid experience, although in terms of the raw gameplay and smoothness, both Pro and One X don't have any problems. Okay, so let's wrap things up. In terms of the console space, the PS4 Pro version delivers a pretty solid experience, but one that's maybe better suited to Full HD screens, as we're not getting a close enough resolution to native 4K. But Xbox One X really is the kind of definitive console experience here. 1800p looks great, and you get a whole host of graphical upgrades over Pro too, that help to really take advantage of the increased pixel count and additional capability that Microsoft's console brings. Anyway, with that said, I'll leave it there. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and be sure to check out our Patreon page at digitalfoundry.net and subscribe there if you'd like to support the work we do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.